Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we get to bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name is Bill Pratt. It's great to be with you, and I'm so excited tonight. One of my oldest friends joins us tonight. Gary Pritchett is going to be on the show to talk about his multitude of different kind of race cars and how much fun he's had racing since he was a little dude. Not little anymore, man. He's dwarfs us all. Before we bring Gary in, let's go to John. John, how are you doing, sir?
Well, doing great here, BP, and howdy from Houston, everybody. Please join us on the live chat. The chat board is on the right side of your YouTube window. Please tell us who you are and where you're from. I'll take notes and I'll pass your questions and comments along to BP and Gary.
All right, thank you, John. And folks, be sure to click the like, click the share button, let your friends know we have Gary Pritchett live. And he's a man who grew up with racing in his DNA. He's driven and tuned everything from top alcohol funny cars to top fuelers. And we're about to check in right now. Gary Pritchett, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad to be on the show, and I'm really looking forward to this interview. Me and Bill go back a long ways, so
It's
that's
so great to have you on, my friend. So, he started out as a guy we all called Little Bear because your great dad, Bear Pritchett, who recently passed, one of our best friends here on the East Coast, was the crew chief for the legendary Bunny Burkett. So, start us off by tell us a little bit about growing up in that pit space.
that was really what got me started in this whole drag racing world. My dad became close friends with Mo and Bunny Burkett back in '87, '88, around the years I was born, and kind of took off from there. And he raced prior to that too. He raced alters and dragsters and bracket raced at your local Budds Creek track and
Mhm.
75, all the Maryland tracks, and stayed on the East Coast. But then got hooked up with Mo and Bunny and started crewing on their car, and then from there on, the rest is history. I mean, that's what we did, and heck, we all lived together, and we lived blood, sweat, and tears of drag racing from right on out. And obviously, prior to that, Bunny and Mo had been racing for 40 years or 35 years when we met them. So there's a lot of history there, and the rest
You,
took off.
you bet. Yeah, talking about your dad, he actually was in some bands around the area too. He was every badass pursuit you could have, playing
Yeah,
in rock bands and drag racing. And yeah, it's hard to tell by looking at you, but he was a pretty handsome guy too. So I'm
yeah,
sure the ladies were chasing him down all the time. I know that's the case.
yeah. The Mesa Blues bands it was called. He played in the blues, and him and my late Uncle Ivy, Jerry Pritchett, they
Yeah.
had a Mesa Blues Altered and a Mesa Blues Dragster, and it was Mesa Blues One and Mesa Blues Two, and
Yeah.
so they would race at Budds Creek all during the day, and then they would do these gigs at night. And sometimes Dad would red light on purpose because he had to get to to play the music that night, and that's just what they did. And they definitely lived a wild life. Let's just say that.
They did. Those guys were something. I announced both of those race cars because I started announcing at Budds Creek in 1987. So I
Yep.
mean, we do go back to day one. Man, that's amazing.
Yep.
Didn't realize it. Well, and of course we all love Bunny, and for years and years you were one of the boys of Bunny and the Boys. We'll talk a little bit about that in detail, but and you're still racing her car today, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, we're still keeping the car going. I mean, that's kind of what she always wanted, was to keep it. That's why she changed the name from Bunny Burkett to Bunny and the Boys, because it became all of us, and she
Mhm.
really wanted that car to continue forever, and that's the plan. And we continue to run the car as many times as we can. And now I have a little bit more time, let's just say, to book more races, and that was part of the reason why I stepped away from top fuel racing full time. But
Gotcha.
that had a lot to do with it. So, and yeah, it just we're already booked in at Summer Duck on Easter Saturday next year, and we're open to anyone that wants to book us in on, if it works out for all of our help, that can do it with us.
Sounds good. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you a couple places next year.
That's the
Um,
plan.
Very cool. Well, yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, we'll go back to the beginning here in a moment, but you're back on the East Coast now. That it's something I just found out before we came on the air. Tell us about that move.
Yeah, sometimes things come full circle. I mean, I was born and raised around Maryland and Virginia, and ended up in Indiana in '07. Spent my life out there for 17 years chasing the nitro world, and then ended up back this way. You know, might have had something to do with girlfriend or fiance or whatever you want to call it now, but it had a lot to do with it. But you know, this is where this is where she lives. This is where my mom and my sister live. This is where all my family's from, and it's kind of funny how I ended up back here, which kind of worked out.
Well, that's great. Welcome home. And your fiance is gorgeous, of course. We've seen the photos. Wow.
And, yeah, she's a keeper.
Well,
and she likes to race cars, so that helps a lot too.
There you go. That sounds great. Yep. Unbelievable. Well, let's talking about, you know, going back to the day, the first time I ever remember, obviously I don't remember when I met you first, but I remember being a little dude hanging around, you know, the Bunny Pit, and you were always just an awesome young man. And I do remember when you finally got to race now. Now, what I think it was 1998. So based on what you told me just then, you were about 11, and they actually built a junior funny car, had a little Bear Pritchett on the side, and of course, Dad tuned it up in a carbureted Briggs and Stratton, and it was a '98 Ford Mustang replica. Tell us about starting out there with down at Bud's Creek.
So things come about. I was probably 9 or 10, and I got involved with the Moore family, Damian Moore, Dennis Moore, and they were really interested in racing, and we wanted to be one of the first ones to have a junior funny car. But back then we were sponsored by Sherwin-Williams, and we went to a lot of cool events with those cars. But taking you back, we came out with that Bunny car, which was a replica of her car, and it said Bunny and the Boys on it, and we just started match racing and bringing it to all the races where Bunny brought her funny car. And one of them in particular was the Night Under Fire at Norwalk. We actually brought both of our funny cars there and put on a match race with the junior funny cars the same time John Force and all of them were there. And we're kids, and that was like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it all started. And, you know, I never really chased track points anywhere. I was always the kid that got to go put the junior dragster or junior funny car in the trailer and go wherever Bunny went. And wherever she raced, I went. So I got to run up and down the East Coast and was always racing at different places, as well as I had to do my chores on the funny car too. That came first, you know. I started from the bottom, but that's what got me started. That's what got me, you know, the plan always was as soon as I was old enough to drive or get a driver's license that I was going to be put in her funny car. And that's kind of how that all came about.
Yep. We got that up next. Let's see if I see John going crazy there trying to keep up with the keyboard. Let's check in with the chat line. John, is anybody on board and ready to say hello yet?
Yeah, we've had some people show up here. Jack Red in Camp Springs, Maryland says, hi, gang.
Happy birthday, Jack. 90 years old yesterday. How about that?
Is that right?
Happy birthday, Jack.
Happy birthday to Jack, man. Shoot, I hope I make it that long.
Me too.
Rich Panicaro in New Jersey says, hi, Jack, and hi, all. Mike Gironi says, good evening, guys, and hey, Gary.
Gironi.
And Ernie Travers says, great to see you back, LB. I think that means Little Bear.
That's one of Bunny's boys there. He worked on the car too, so. Yep, we go way back.
And we're caught up for the moment.
All right, thanks, John. I saw you were smoking on those keyboards, so we're checking in. Lots of good stuff. Well, we were talking about you know, jumping in a car when you were, you know, when the time came, and I'm showing 2008, if my memory serves, or my memory's shot, but I write it all down. Yeah, the old '97 Dodge Avenger with that old 540-inch Walt Austin motor that she ran that 5 flat years ago. I shouldn't say that, 6 flat rather. That was like one of the great runs in alcohol history. Yeah, but put you in that car and he started rocking and rolling. Tell me about that first ride.
Yeah, that was one of those deals when I went off to go top fill racing, and then it was like, well, we've been, you know, it was hard to, let's just say it was hard to get Bunny out of the seat because that was her. That's what she always wanted to do. And you know, we figured out and planned a weekend to do it. And I think I was roughly 18, 19 or so, and came home from racing in the top fuel world and got my license in alcohol funny car. I actually borrowed Whit Bazemore's fire suit to do it. So I had his Matco Tools fire suit on, which was pretty cool. And we came home and made a couple runs, and just watching her my whole life, you could almost hear the sounds of the revving it up and when to shift and all that. We didn't even need the shift light, and we kind of nailed the license process because of watching so many runs. And
Right.
he was a great teacher, and literally just did it exactly how she drove, and we went on from there.
That was awesome. Yeah, that car, I guess he sort of is, and kind of was it a second car to Bunny? Was it, or was it the same one that she raced?
Yeah, it was an older car. It was the Gordy race cars one, not the one that was wrecked, but there was one built after that. And then it was the second car, not the yellow car you see in the background of you. It was the second car, because the other one was built in 01, and that was more of her national event car. But it had a 540 Watt Austin motor in it, and it was still capable of running, which we still have that combination. It still runs 6 flat, 235 mile an hour, and it's still in like a 1987 tune-up world championship car is what we call it, and it runs just like she did back in the day. So,
well, I remember you got, I'm showing here, you got a 611 out of it in 09, which was, which was an unreal ET, for a match.
Yeah, that was some of my license runs there roughly, and it was really fun. And like I say, her and Mo and my dad were great teachers, and it was something we've been wanting to do for a long time. We finally got to do it, and that's kind of where the racing career took off. I mean, prior to that, I drove some dragsters, Super Comp. I got to drive my cousin Jesse Pritchett's dragster. It was Kevin, a guy out of Budds Creek. I drove his car, but that was the first real car I drove, was the funny car. So I didn't know much different.
Right.
And it's back in the old school days, like still some guys do it, but swapping feet, revving the motor up, old B&J transmission, the old stuff, and it still worked great. But
yeah,
those are the good memories.
You still get down the track. I mean, that's okay. You guys, it's one thing to have the power, and you guys do always make a lot of power, but make smart power. It always seemed to me that you didn't like put it so far on the edge that you were blowing it up, because you had races to run, you had places to be. You couldn't be tearing it down all. But I've never seen it where you guys weren't thrashing on that car. Not like trying to like sweat to get it back like an NHRA national event or something, but I guess that may be part of your success, is that you and the boys always had that car pulled apart and working on it, not just, taking things for granted.
Yeah, we always were taught that from Mo and my dad, but, especially Mo was always very adamant about not cutting corners, making sure every certain amount of runs you do this, no cut corners. We didn't care how long it took. We made sure it was right before we did it. And we were racing on a budget too. So we had to make things work and do the best we could with what we had. And like you say, we could never push it as hard as we wanted to, because if we hurt it, we'd be out for maybe half the season or more. So, we still had old cast blocks and stuff. And when they put a rod out, they put a rod out big time. They'd almost saw through the block. Where now you got billet aluminum and all that. We never had any of that. So anytime we hurt something, it was catastrophic. And, still to this day, I mean, we still, it hurts our feelings a lot if we hurt anything. Right now we have a really good tune-up, and we're knocking on wood and making sure it stays that way. And we don't talk about it much because the car is treating us right.
Yeah. Oh, it's always, and those, I think the big thing is the monster burnouts. Tell us about the story when you and Bunny like actually raced one another back in the day, and you both had these monster burnouts side by side, and pretty close performance too.
Well, that was her signature deal. And I will say, we never got more than 10 runs out of a set of Goodyears because of that, because she knew when they stopped smoking a lot. And we got to a point when we started racing each other in the beginning. April 12th, 2009 was the first time, Easter, and we raced each other, and that was at Waynesboro, East Side Dragway at Waynesboro, Virginia. And that was our tradition that we did forever. And it was one of those things, they wanted us to do a burnout side by side, but I think her and I were seeing who was going to go first so we could pace them. So that's what we would do. And I would start the burnout, and she would pace me and always make sure that she went further than I did. And they were usually 8th mile burnouts.
Yeah.
And we raced prior years to that. And, that was one of my best ever opponents I ever had in my life. Racing against her was like racing against someone who taught you everything you know. I mean, your hero. And I think I mentioned something to you about 2010. We raced at the Jet Wars at Budds Creek, and it was like a sold out crowd. Everybody wanted to see the Hall of Famer take out, her godson, the young guy, and see the old lady win. And well, we'd ended up doing our 8th mile burnouts, backing up, and we staged, and before we staged, we'd whack the throttle back and forth. She would always go whoom whoom whoom, and I would do the same thing. And then I usually had a better, in her later career, I had a better reaction time than her because I was younger, and she had great reaction times in the back in the day. But then she got older. No offense to the older, there's still good people who can cut good lights. But anyways, I ended up leaving on her really good, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got this one in the bank. Well, we're going down through there and get past the 8th mile, and here I hear this little pink hood come up because she was in her Corvette, and she nipped me right at the very end by 1,000th of a second, and I saw her light come on, and that was actually, I think I might have cried because I was so excited. I couldn't believe she still got me, but it was one of those deals. It's actually on YouTube somewhere, that race.
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd went wild, Nate. Yeah, that was the normal deal, and that was a great memory.
Yeah, those days at Budds Creek, I mean, I had a lot of fun announcing down there. I don't know if I was there for that one, but I can't even keep them all straight. I got to go back and read the old race reports to see which ones I was at, because usually I got the honor of announcing them and doing the color commentary with like guys like Brett Kepner, Louis Bloom, and and some really amazing announcers. And then and I'd like write it up and get it back in the day on National Dragster, but after as things went along, it ended up going on the internet.
Right.
Really amazing stuff. Well, let's talk about jumping into Top Fuel. I'm looking at here, 2015, the Dote Racing team, Mike and Connie Dote out of Ohio.
Yeah.
And put you in their car and tell us what that was like, getting a taste of nitro. Was that your first nitro ride?
That was Mike and Connie Dote gave me my first chance to drive one. There was a lot of opportunities there, but to come up and say, hey, you want to get in my car and get your license? That was pretty special, and I'll never forget it. And Bunny and my dad were there on the starting line when it happened, and we were in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the first run, very first run in my career in a Top Fuel car, it smoked the tires right at the step. And just being around it prior to that, 5, 6, probably 8 years, watching and seeing what not to do. And you caught it pretty quick, because if you don't catch it, it'll sometimes blow up or kick the panels out or whatever. But being around it and watching it really helped out a lot. And they gave me my first chance, and I think I went like 390 or 389.
391 at 311.
311. That's right. I was 311.99. So I'll just never forget that.
312.
Yeah. So I'll never forget the pull in the middle of the track, the G-forces in the middle of the track of a Top Fuel car. It's like you're holding on for dear life. I'm sure you've heard people talk about it this race them, but it's a whole different experience than anything else I've ever been in. And I'll never forget that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because John has often asked, our Top Fuel racers what the difference was between, I think, alcohol and fuel. And that's what I think almost everyone to a person has said. It just doesn't stop pulling like the alcohol cars do.
No, the best way to say is if you're in a manual car leaving a stoplight and you're mat the gas down, and then you start letting out of the clutch slowly, and then you let it out 1-to-1. It's kind of what we're doing in the Top Fuel car. You finally you're slipping the clutch. And then when it comes 1-to-1 in the middle of the track is when it's really, you're feeling all that horsepower, and you're holding on for dear life. And It's a whole different animal. But
that's when the big dog starts eating.
Yes, it does. And that's when you're hooked for life.
I love it. Let's see, John, is it opportune time for you to pull in some racers? I see you sort of typing and reading. I watched John's face. I see John working like a Phantom of the Opera down there.
Yeah, we've had some more people check in here. Jack Red said Gary's father was named Bear and Gary Little Bear. Now Gary is the Big Bear.
That's the truth. You hear that a lot.
Kodiak now.
Yeah.
Jack
he always towered over me. Now I'm his same height. So
yeah.
Jack's got some jokes tonight, y'all. Okay. Lisa Naden says Lisa from Delaware is here.
That's my sister.
Hey, howdy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Jack answered. He said, "Lisa, if Virginia had no clothes, what would Delaware? A New Jersey."
Yeah.
He's on it tonight. That's a good one.
90. Tell us a little bit about Lisa, Gary.
Lisa is my sister, and she lives in Selbyville, Delaware. She was a big part of me coming back to the East Coast, as well as Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom lives around that area too, and a big supporter of me in racing forever. And I've always been a big supporter of her. And she's got two of my nephews that she gave birth to that are great, and one of them was born on April 12th, 2009, the first day Bunny and I raced each other ever.
Wow.
And that, what that helps with? I'll never forget his birthday. And then you got Lucas and Dave, and we're all huge Baltimore Ravens fans. We're actually going to a game December 1st against the Eagles. So yeah, there's a lot of that's cool. She's always been to all the races on the East Coast that we've came to. And one accomplishment that I have is we always won all the home races, we called it, Bobby and Dom and I, which was, we always won Virginia. We always won Maple Grove, Englishtown, Epping, any of the ones that were home tracks to us.
Yeah.
We ended up winning, and Lisa and my sister and all of them were always there to see it. So it was very cool.
I love it. Well, I'm sure that was you. That was Lisa and everybody's influence.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
John, we got anybody else chatting?
Yes, Tracy Klein is here with us tonight, and she says, "Hi, Gary."
I tell Tracy I said hi. And
hopefully she can. I'm sure she can hear what's on YouTube. So it's working out great.
Hi, Tracy. We can't wait to see you at the Glizzy Gang again. That's an inside joke.
Okay.
Good, man. And Bruce Mullins is here, and he says, "Hi, little bear."
Hey, Bruce, we wish you were coming to Maple Grove this weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bruce is that's another one of my old top alcohol buddies. We've been hanging out for, decade and a half, 2, maybe 3. I don't know.
Yeah, we go way back with Bruce. He painted, after Bunny got in her accident, he painted one of her prized first cars, and it's actually hanging on a wall in one of my friends' houses in their garage in Virginia. But Bruce has been a tough competitor to us for years. He painted a lot of Bunny's cars. He painted a lot of that Corvette body, which also Chuck's Brushworks did. But Bruce did most of the stuff on that, and it's a beautiful car, and it's been a lot of help to us over the years, and a tough competitor. And it's fun to still be able to race him now, with Jessica and Top Dragster, and he was in Top Dragster, but now he's come back over to Alcohol Funny Car, and we're looking forward to lining up the Bunny car against him in the future.
That would be great. I got the War Horses back on track with another gorgeous paint job.
Yeah, as always, out of that camp. So
awesome. Hey, Bruce. So what's up, John? Anybody else?
Yeah, Tina Clayton is here, and she says, "Hi, Gary. Proud of you."
We just spent the weekend with them, so tell them hello. They hear me. Never mind. So.
And we have a couple of Bunny posts. Greg Zyla is with us tonight, and he said he first met Bunny when she had a match race with Gene Brown at Numidia, 1973 Pro Stocks. Bunny in the Pinto and Gene in her Vega.
Wow.
That's pretty neat. That goes way back. We actually still have the hood scoop to that Pinto floating around, and I have the open face pink helmet that she wore when she drove that Pinto. So pretty neat.
And Gene and Mousy Brown, they're just legends, and our dear friends that as time clicks on, they leave us, but it's great to have known them.
Yep.
Now Jack Red made a post, and he said, "In 1965, when I was the editor of Drag Times, I ordered supplies from Southern Office Supplies in Arlington, Virginia. When I looked at the front door, there was a pretty blonde. It was Bunny Burkett."
Yep, that's where she used to work. Southern, yep. That goes way back. I remember her talking about that place frequently.
Very amazing.
Yeah, and Greg Zyla just said there's lots of memories of Numidia, BSD, and Skyview memories. And Bruce Mullins said, you were talking about this upcoming weekend. He said, I wish we were going also. And he thanks us for reciting his posts. And that's what we have for the moment.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Good. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Appreciate it. Well, yeah, we're doing you were talking about Mullins and painting Bunny's car, and reminded me when after the accident, and that reminded me that the first car Bunny got back into in competition after her accident was a junior dragster. We actually put her, do you recall that evening? She went into some young lady's junior dragster. Her name escapes me. I've got it recorded somewhere.
Was it Stephanie Chappell maybe? Or no?
Was it? Yeah, Stephanie had the funny car, didn't she? Is that
the bad attitude funny car? But yeah, I do remember that because the first run they made back, they had balloons tied to it, and they cut the balloons when she took off because that was like showing that she was back in the seat.
Yeah, well, this was a junior dragster. It wasn't another young lady. It wasn't Stephanie's car. That was another great funny car, and her dad was awesome. But it was very cool that and she said these things hit. You don't think about it, but they had to make sure that Bunny could, and she said once she did it, it was good to go. So we were proud to see her back.
Yeah.
But she's awesome. Well, let's go back to funny cars here with you. In 2018, you got a chance to drive one of the baddest alcohol cars on the planet. And I do say planet because it was international. It was the Lindbergh brothers car out of Upplands Vassili, Sweden. And you were racing that thing at Indy with an awesome 555 at 266. By the way, one of the fastest alcohol cars of all time. In fact, the first 270 car, was not run in the States. I think it was run over by those guys in Sweden. But tell us a little bit about driving that car.
So that's a wild ride there. That's a whole different animal than what we deal with. We're launching, leaving about 5,000 RPM, 5,500 maybe. In this car, you're 7,800, maybe 8,000.
Wow.
And it's just a whole different animal, and you rev up a lot higher. And I had to really get used to it. Lindbergh, he gave me that opportunity to drive his car, and I'll never forget. I really appreciate it. And he had in 2015, Lindbergh was going in the 530s. He went and I think he went a 538 or a 536 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah. And he was the world champ, and I ended up being able to be in one of the best cars in the country. And I'll just never forget that we would rev the car up so high. In Bunny's car, you kind of would swap feet a little bit to get it to, if the static wasn't right in the clutch, to get it to drag through. Well, that thing, you revved up so high, you could keep your foot down on the clutch, and the thrust from the headers would move the car forward.
Wow.
That's one thing you learned. And, you launched real high and shift real high, and it was to debut at the U.S. Nationals of all places, and we qualified number 2, and we went to the semifinals and lost to my other hero in alcohol funny car, Sean Bellemere. Right. But awesome. That was an experience of a lifetime, and definitely woke me up to the animals of the real alcohol funny cars and NHRA drag racing that really haul butt. So that's that was an experience.
That's the funny thing about alcohol funny cars over the years, right? And it's kind of like this way today because we have the funny car chaos, and although there's some pretty badass cars on that circuit, but you had the top NHRA guys, and then in the past, even when Bunny was racing in IHRA, those guys were all root blowers and roots blowers rather. So they were a tenth or two back, maybe 3. But they were all great, right? But that was another level of it. And then there's match race person, it's like 20s, 30s, 40s eventually. But then there's guys running like 790s or 690s on an index, So with alcohol funny car racing, it's just this wide variance of going fast and kind of having fun no matter what your budget is, which is still fun to watch to this day.
Yeah, I used to like back in the day, IHRA was more of the root style blower. NHRA was like you had to have a screw blower to compete, and that was just hard for a lot of guys. It takes a lot of money, and a lot of alcohol guys raced on a budget, and I'll just never forget the IHRA competition was so tough. And back in the day, a guy by the name of Dale Brand would run 568 with a roots blower, right? And a lot of guys were 580s was where you were at, but some guys would run 70s and high 60, and that was that was pretty impressive to me, and
And
something that
Jim
you'll never.
Lape and
Yep,
that those guys up out of Pennsylvania, I think, and Brand out of Iowa or wherever the heck he was.
he
He was a
was.
killer.
Yes, he was, and obviously our hero Mark Thomas. He was
Mark
too.
Thomas, a 580 and 590 at a desk,
Yeah, all the time. And
It's
we
so
were
much.
struggling to, when we run 590s, it was like winning the world championship. It was a
Yeah,
big deal.
yeah.
So
I love those, of course we had the IHRA President's Cup at Budds Creek forever and ever. And you guys were always in the thick of it there. In fact, going to the semis, maybe even to the finals once, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I remember, and of course the big American flag and some of the guys that boo-hoo about, taking 2 extra seconds on the burnout and stuff,
yeah,
whatever. I'm like, but you're
yeah,
going to do the show.
that's part of the show, and we still do it to this day. And
Yeah.
I think anybody that knows if they line up against us that we're probably going to do a long burnout, so they should wait or do it with us.
That's right. So
But,
shut up. It's alcohol motor. You need the heat in it. It's not going to hurt anything.
yeah, and she said just do a long enough burnout till it just starts to drag the clutch down, and you'll be all right. Maybe grab the brake a little bit too.
Well, let me take you back to Top Fuel here. So in 21, you got a chance to jump in the Nitro Ninja car of Dom and Bobby Lagana, our great friends, who I also, by the way, maybe a little older than you, maybe not, but I saw them guys when they were pretty young too, up in New Jersey when their dad was running funny cars. But I know you ran. I don't know. I don't have the times for it. I think you ran at Milan in August of 21, and I don't know if that
Martin,
is that when you're trying to get your, or was it Martin?
Martin, Michigan. Yep. So, Dom and Bob and I go way back as far as the, Wednesday night shows at Englishtown, New Jersey when we were, kids. Bob was older, but Dom and I played with Hot Wheels cars in the back of Uncle trailer and stuff. I mean, we were kids and we met them through match racing. We used to be booked in at the big Englishtown races with Bunny's car.
Yeah.
And, Dom and Bob would be booked in with the Top Fuel car. And I remember as a kid just thinking how cool it was to see them roll in with that dragster on a ramp truck.
Yeah.
And it's something you'll never forget. I wish they still had it, but
yeah,
a lot of history there. And then we ended up, Bob came on with Torrance Racing and Capco in 2015. And, we were already bonded before then through meeting through Bunny Burkett. And then the rest was history. We had a lot of success and years together, and Dom came on board. And then, things come about where Dom always said one day he's going to let me drive his car, and ended up being able to work that weekend. And Clay actually drove the race that weekend, but prior to it, I got to test it. And then
nice.
After it was the Martin, Michigan race up in August, the night they called it a night of fire. And then the years prior to that, I got to actually race the car, and was we ended up winning it the next year when they let me drive, and we ran another hero of mine, Dell Worsham, in the final in his dragster, and we were running we would 380 that car to death. It was a really good show car. Dom actually went 340 mile an hour in that car at Martin, Michigan, when he was driving in quarter mile, and that was unbelievable. And then that was that same track, and they moved it back to 1,000 feet, but we ended up winning the last couple events, and I'll never forget that too. And I've got my career best, top speed, ET, and everything in that car. And actually the last race we put the car number on the Top Fuel car was 296, and that was Bunny's alcohol funny car.
Yeah,
Surprised me with that, and then a lot of other things, and very special.
386 at 323. That's what I'm showing, right?
That's the career best. Yep.
Unbelievable. That's amazing. Yeah. So, that's so cool. Well, I just love that you guys, go back so long, and it's making me feel old. But I mean, I'm proud to know all of you for a long, long time, and it's funny. I remember funny stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and share it, man. Funny story. Remember Len Capone, the bear?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
one of those Englishtown races was Bunny. And I don't know if it's a bigger show or they were just match racing, but he was sleeping in his trailer. He's pretty young then too. I mean, he wasn't that young. He was, I don't know if he's in his teens, but early 20s. And she went and, jumped in there and jumped on top of the bed and just, like when he was sleeping, he woke up and there's Bunny Burkett looking at him, and when you're looking down at Bunny Burkett and you're laying there, you're seeing more than just Bunny's face. I mean, Bunny's her curves were legendary, and
Yeah, yeah, that was something she would do. She could hang with everybody and break everybody's balls, we would call
yeah,
it. She was one of the boys for sure.
absolutely. Well, so this is really cool though. So just to make sure I get this right, so the Martin, was it the 21 or 22 Martin race that you actually did you race it and win that event?
Yeah, 22. Yep.
Fantastic.
We were the Northern Nats champs, and we beat Del Worsham in the final.
That's
So it was a
amazing.
very close race, and yeah, it was just pretty awesome. And then the following year, I think it was 23. No, we're 24. Yeah, last year I was actually we raced there, and we lost to Larry Dixon in the final. But something we did prior to the event was one of the coolest things I've ever done, which is we lined up with Darren Mayer's daughter Olivia
Right.
in her junior dragster, and we staged there's a video of it, and we staged the top fuel car against the junior dragster and raced. And obviously we left together, but she kind of hung me out a little bit, and I'm in the top fuel car thinking, can you believe this junior dragster's hanging me out? But we had a good time, and it was something she'll never forget and we'll never forget. And the video's there to show it. And as a junior dragster kid and all the kids growing up, if you could ever you staged against the top fuel car, that would be something
right
you would dream of. And we were able to make it happen. And to everyone involved, that was truly special.
I love it. That's so fun. Let's take a moment and go back and check in with John and the gang. John, what's happening out there?
Yeah, we've had some people show up. Clark Pepke says he's learning a lot about Gary, and he had a question for you, Gary. He asked, what advice do you have for young drivers that are just starting out?
Oh, the advice I gave him the other day to his son that's currently up and coming in pro stock motorcycles was, you will lose 1,000 ways before your career is over. You learn to lose 1,000 ways before your career is over. I think that's what I said. Which in drag racing, you learn every way to lose is what. And I just said, he's a young guy coming up, and he had some, I actually in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago, I went to the 5th round in Super Comp, and I got in the water box, and my battery died. And it was a battery charger that didn't work well. Well, he recently had something happen to him with I'm not sure, I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of along the same lines. And I just told him, just add that to the list of the ways to lose in drag racing. So
just don't do it again. That's the thing. It's all the all the lessons learned.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you're up, John. What else we got?
Yeah, James Martin said he always loves being around Gary. He says he's a great guy and always fun to be around.
Yep, that's another one that always was at the home races, and spent a lot of time with us when we won, and we obviously knew how to celebrate. So a lot of history there as well. Hey, James Martin.
That's cool. Well, we're caught up for the moment, y'all.
All right, cool. Yeah, if any questions, guys, let us know. I did want to go back to, you guys were keeping the Bunny and the boys going, with the great Mo Burkett. Every time I see him, I'm so happy to get to visit with him. And the last time we were down at Butts Creek, I got a picture of him and Jack Red together, two true legends, side by side. And we just saw Garlits over the weekend in Bruce Larson's place, which was awesome.
Yep.
Of course, Henry Sweetman was there. So, I mean, between Garlits, Jack, and Henry Sweetman, about 280, I had to do the math, just 280 years of like a history right there. Pretty unbelievable. But you're still out there rocking and rolling. The one cool thing that happened in 23 is the Summer Duck Easter race, where you reset finally, Bunny Burkett's long-standing track record, with a 396. So you guys are hitting the threes with that thing.
The car was fighting us for a long time. We were starting to get down and wonder if we want to keep, doing it. But finally we figured out, Aaron Cave and I, that's been a long time crew guy on the car and now tuner, is we finally took the block down to the bare minimum, and I mean everything from the sleeves out to a bare block of what we had, and found a bunch of metal shavings in the motor, and that's what was fighting us from previous blow-ups, and they were hidden inside little areas in the block, we'll say, and fixed that, and finally got our tune-up right. And ever since then, things have kind of turned around. And Bonifani Friction came aboard, and a lot of other people, Lucas Oil, supplied us with the things we need. And Freddie Spell from Spell Paving, a lot of things that helped us achieve it. New tires, all the new oil, new clutch discs, floaters. And that's kind of what helped us turn our program around. And we were able to go to Summer Duck and run that 396, which is pretty crazy at Summer Duck.
Yeah.
the record was a 406, and it was held for, I want to say, how many years do you got? I mean,
it was a long time. Yeah.
Bunny held it for, maybe 15, 20 years. And we ended up breaking it in the car that she set the record in. And it was really special. And we had some ashes in the parachutes on that run, I will say that. So it was a cool deal. And then, that particular race, things turned around. And then from there on, we went to Budds Creek and ran the Funny Car Chaos. And we had a dream weekend with that car and ran the best we've run. And that car's ran in 20 years. And yeah, we can get into that if you want. I mean, that was.
I'd love to. I got to, I don't know if I called the action, but I was right there in the tower, and you won the B field, the inaugural B field at the Funny Car Chaos event, August 26, 2023, a dead on 386 with a 4 on the 386 index. And tell us about your impressions of that weekend.
That was a dream weekend for us. It was the actual, tribute to Bunny, and it was also a tribute to Bear Pritchett, and it was the race tributed to them as he just passed away a couple months prior. And to go out there and just be able to put on a decent show would have been very special to a lot of us. And not only did we go out there and do that, we qualified where we needed to qualify, and then we raced within the index. And then, we raced our family first round, Stamballs, Matt and Robin Stamball. We got to race them first round. I mean, and then we line up against Billy Naves and the Naves and Jagger at second round. And it's like you want to race those guys in the final, but the way it came about was truly special. And it's like you feel like somebody put that all there for a reason to have us line up and put on a show. And both races were very close. And then the final, we raced Wayne Hoffman. And I'll just never forget, the index was actually 396.
396, that's right.
And we ran the index number in the final, 396, and the win light come on. And that was a truly emotional win and one of the biggest wins of my entire career. And I'll never forget it. And it's kind of like we made them proud, and Bunny and Bear, and won their tribute race. And that was the way to do it.
That's right. It was a 396 with a 4. 386 obviously would have been a breakout unless Hoffman went worse. But no, that was. And, gosh, I've been so lucky to have been there for so many of these, events and written about them. And you guys have been very kind to kind of make me a part of the family of the Bunny family. We were pretty tight, and I always loved seeing your dad. And that was,
every time we came to the races that she was at, you always came by the pit, and she always looked forward to it.
She was great. And I think more than one people on this broadcast got a little misty at that race.
Yeah, that was a special one. That was a good one. If you're gonna win one, that's the one to win. So
heck yeah, hometown crowd. Inaugural Bunny and Bear burnouts for Bunny and Bear, and then to win, because that was a special event within an event, and then to win the actual B field of the actual Funny Car Chaos, the first one ever, was pretty amazing.
Yes, it was. Something we'll never forget. And the picture's right there behind you to prove it.
That's right. Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Let's we're talking about success. Let's go to 2024, because there's this dude named Randy Meyer who's got some sort of dragster that's well known. But you started driving for Randy and came out and had one hell of a season. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Randy and I talked earlier this year, the opportunity, we've talked about it for years, about him letting me come up with some sponsorship to drive his car someday. And we finally, that came about because I wasn't racing Top Fuel crewing full time anymore, and I had an opportunity. So a race came about, and it was like, hey, would you like to do this race? And we can put something together. And we did, and made it happen. And it ended up being the Indy race, the regional in Indy. and it was the Cletus and Cars event as well. So it was a huge event, a lot of people there, and we ended up showing up, and I think we qualified number 2.
Yep.
And we went to the final.
Right.
And we lost the race in the final, and that was the first race. And we lost from a slight little red light, which is okay. And you just kind of go on from there and go on to the next race. And then that weekend went so well, and we had some people interested in helping us, so we put together another race. And where was that at? We showed up to
Columbus was the second one, right?
Columbus.
Division 3 in July.
Yes. So we show up to Columbus, and we ended up racing. I think we qualified 2 or 3, maybe around there, and we ended up going to the final again. So if you told me if I was going to show up to 2 races and go to 2 finals, I'd never believe it.
Qualifying 2 at both of them.
Qualified 2 at both of them. And we ended up racing a guy by the name of Tony Stewart again, and fell short. We smoked the tires at the hit. And then that weekend went so well, and we had a lot of interest. So we said, let's go to a 3rd race. So we ended up, hey, would you want to run the Night Under Fire at Norwalk? Absolutely. That's where I ran the junior funny car, which I said earlier. A lot of history there with Bunny. It was an IHRA race back in the day with Bill Bader. That was our favorite track to go to on the circuit, besides the President's Cup. And I got to run my junior funny car there with John Force. Of course I want to run. So we show up there. You know where we qualified there? I think we qualified 4th or 5th.
Yeah, number 4.
We qualified 4th or 5th. We weren't running that well, and it was like, okay, me and my teammate Hunter were there. He was running pretty good. So we ended up having a couple good close races. I think we raced Angel first round. We had the same ET. It's a very close race. After that, we ran Hunter second round. Hunter red lighted. Still good race. And then obviously we went to the final again. If you told me I was going to go to 3 races to go to 3 finals, I'd never believe you. And in the 3rd final, we ran Tony Stewart again. So, I said to myself going up there that 3rd times might be a charm. And it was. And it was if you were going to pick a race to win, Night Under Fire was the race to win in front of 40,000 people.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Baders know how to put on a show. And that was my first Wally and my first win ever. And that was ranked up there, probably number 2 behind the Bunny win.
Yeah. Well, the fireworks for you, my friend.
Yeah, that was, and then to parade the car back down the track with all the fireworks and all the fans greeting you. That was exactly how Bunny would want it. And that's how we were match racers. And to me, that was more than just an event. That was a match race, and we put on a heck of a show. And we beat Tony by, I think, a couple thou. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 520 bracket racing with you guys. All of them everybody's tough in that class.
Yeah, it was 524 to 525 or something.
Yeah.
And then we went to another race from there. We went to we decided to go to Earlville, Iowa, and we showed up there, and I'm not sure we qualified.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Yeah.
And we went to the final there, and we won that race. So here we are, 4 races, 4 finals, 2 wins. And then it all came down to a couple weeks ago. Thankful to Bonifani, Friction, and a lot of people that helped me get to make this happen. We went to, where we go? What's the last one?
Madison, Illinois, St. Louis.
St. Louis. We went out to St. Louis, and I was like, well, if we're going to St. Louis, we might as well bring our Super Comp cars. And that's when my battery died in the 5th round. And then Jessica brought her top dragster car, and we ran great there, and she went a couple rounds. And then, we ended up going out there qualifying 4 or 5.
4th. Yeah.
4th. And little as the final together. So, we said to each other, he said to me, actually, we keep.
Oops, a little bit of internet interference. Let's hopefully, there we go.
So we met in the final and ended up, that was a winner take all for the championship in the North Central region. And we smoked the tires at the hit, and Tony won. And, that just makes us hungry to come back for more next year and try and pursue it again.
That's fantastic.
And that's,
wow.
That's a tough, the McPhillips family and the Randy Meyer family are very tough. And
whoops, we lost Gary for a moment. Hopefully get him back. Let's give that a couple seconds.
Got us?
Yeah, there you go. You're back. We lost you in the middle, but just to let everybody, just in case you missed it, guys, it was Tony Stewart in that final against Gary out at St. Louis, and another great race. And and that was a winner take all for the championship. And you'll say, when you're talking about these things in the future, even to say, yeah, we were runner up to that, yeah, but the guy we were runner up to was Tony Stewart. That's pretty cool. There's a whole lot of people in motorsports would love to say that.
Yeah, he's a tough competitor and great driver, and look forward to racing him some more.
Pretty cool. John, is there anybody out there with a question or a thought?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. Ernie Travers said, we've known Gary since he was a little kid. His dad and Bunny were always so proud of him. Great talent, great guy. He is surrounded by amazing talent and friends, and we're proud of you. And
we really appreciate
it. Jack Red said, Gary will be the future legend. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, from what I've heard tonight, Gary, you've done more in your career up to this point than most guys have done in 2 or 3 careers. It's just amazing everything that you've accomplished. And I'm just proud to know you, man. I'm glad you're on the show.
Yeah, it's all thanks to the all the old legendary drag racers that made paved the way for us, and it's thanks to Bunny and Mo for giving the opportunity, and people like Ernie too that helped us out for years. We never forget all the people that she surrounded us with, and that's really why this has happened.
Ernie and Chop, and oh my gosh, there's
Chop,
a big crew of boys there.
Yeah, Aaron and Adam Cave, they're still out there, and Aaron's the assistant crew chief on the Scrappers Top Fuel car. Mike Salinas, which is now Jasmine Salinas, and Adam is, the car chief on that car. And the reason I got my start in Top Fuel racing is because of this. Just what I'm saying is John Boyce gave me a call in 2007 and gave me a job on David Power's car. Wow, and that's where it started. And if it wasn't for John Boyce that started on Bunny's car from when he was 16 years old till he was 20 and learned everything from her, I would have never got that opportunity. So that's what paved the way for me to get into Top Fuel racing. And, we went on from there. I was with David Powers from 07 to 08, and then they closed the doors. And, I won a couple races there. Right. And then went on from there I joined Joe Hartley Racing in 09 for half the season, and then they parked it, which I had a lot of good times with those. And then left from there and went to Morgan Lucas Racing, where Sean Langdon was driving.
Right.
And that was 10 and 11. And, we had a lot of fun years there. And,
success too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then 2012 came along, and I started out with Steve Torrance, and I was there for 12 years. And that's a huge part of my career and my life. And, Steve Torrance Racing and Capco, I wouldn't be a lot of places without them too. I mean, everybody there that's involved, there's 3 major things that came out of that place. Not just there's 4, but we were a big family and everything. And from 2012 to when I left, we won 57 Top Fuel NHRA national events, and got Steve his first Top Fuel win in 2012, and I was there for it and was there. I only missed one, so I was there for 56 of them, and I think he's won 57. And wow. Not only did we do that, we won 4 championships, while I'm talking about this. And that's, we almost won it in 2017. And, we wrecked a car in Dallas. And that was another thing to bring up with drag racing as a big family is in 2017 in Dallas, we wrecked the car in the semifinals, and we were able to bring back a whole nother car for the final round. And the only way we were able to do that was because every single person in the pit came to our pit to help us. But, out of that, and then, I'm just going to keep going with Steve stuff. 2018, we swept the NHRA countdown. That's a huge freaking deal. Like we won. Not only did we win the championship, we won every race in the countdown from Indy on.
Yeah, that was something.
That was ranked up there with me winning my first win with winning in Bunny. That was a big part of my career, was that. To be able to do that and be a part of that was huge. And I don't know if anybody will ever do it ever again. If they do, I'm going to go and shake everybody's hand, because to have that many perfect runs in a row to work out, and some were, lucky ones too, is very hard. And then the final accomplishment there after the championships and all that came about, we ended up, our last race to win was Brainerd. And when I say that, it was the last race for us to win every race on the entire NHRA circuit. We won at every track. So
Wow.
to say that I went to every national event and we won every race at every track is something that I don't think many people can say. And that was the, yeah. And then from there on out, I mean, we just had a lot of good years together, but
it was an amazing team. And what you guys super, super quick, right? But what impressed me as I looked over those 57 wins is that you weren't always the quickest though. And, in qualifying, but what happened with the championships are won on race day when you got the team putting the car back together in a consistent fashion, race after race. It's always been that way. And the fastest guys are often not always the winningest guys. You got to be close enough to win, but then be consistent. And you guys just seem to find a way to win on race day. And it must have just been, I'm attributing that to the crew doing their jobs and must have had a great time together. You must have it must really be in sync. And tell us a little bit about that camaraderie.
That was it, the camaraderie. It took a long time for us to find that core group. And when that core group got together, there was no stopping us. And, like you say, consistency was key to us. Hogan was never out there swinging for it and qualifying. We were a good soft run Q1 to make sure we get in. And then Q2, we just run what we think we can run and don't go out there and try and be a hero. We usually qualified 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
And went on from there. And then same with race day. We kind of raced the racetrack. We didn't race, we didn't get caught up in racing. Oh, we're racing this guy next to us. He might have a better reaction time or not. Or they out qualified us. We need to really get after it. We kind of had blinders up and we just ran our race. And doing that, we made our own luck, I'm going to say, is because they knew that we were going to go down the track and they knew Steve was going to have a good light and that they needed to at least do this, make that run on that particular time or they were going to, get beat. And a lot of times people would smoke the tires, and there was a lot of races where we were just on the other side of them. And, you look back at it and it's kind of crazy how it happened. And then you get to some other years, you always got to celebrate a win like it's your last win because you never know when you'll get another one. And then they just keep coming and you kind of get caught up into it like, oh, whatever. All right, yeah, it's a win. Just collect your trophy. We were never like that. We always celebrated like it was our last win.
Right.
And then just now you see how hard it is to get a win. And, and it's spread out a lot more. Nobody's really running away with it. It's just tough out there. And, but once you see it and get that core group together, if you keep them together on any team, it's watch out because it has everything to do from the guy washing the parts, the guy that's the clutch assistant, to the head guy, to the guys cooking the food, everything. As long as everybody's together, you can't beat them. And
so you walk. Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, you're good.
I was going to say, you walk up to the guy flipping the burger and say, "What are you doing, man?" Say, "I'm winning a world championship."
That's right. That's right. That's how you start too. If anybody, kid wants to get involved in racing, that's how you start. You start from the bottom, and get your CDL and drive a truck and go from there. And that's how we all did it.
Story old as time, man. John, let's check with John real quick. And we are right at time, but having so much fun, we'll extend this a little bit. If Gary can hang with us a couple more minutes.
I can.
That's for sure, man. Now we have a poster that showed up, and he goes by the name of Eclipse Hipsy. And he says, Roy says Gary always took time and Top Fuel to help mentor us independent clutch guys.
I sure did. There was a lot of guys, outside of our camp that I always would help out. And, if people needed their clutches cut or if they needed a pointer or needed any kind of help, I was kind of taught that from Bunny and Mo Burkett. You just help everybody as you can and you go on from there, and it is what it is. And like I say, again, I'll go back to drag racing's a big family. Drag race, racing is life. I say that a lot to my fiance because we race all the time, but racing is life, and that's what we know, and that's how we met. And it's a big family sport, and that's why I would help anybody there is in racing or outside of racing, really. But yeah, that's cool. I wish I knew who that was besides the name.
We'll have to do some detective work.
We'll have to do some research on that. I could probably
Well,
get in trouble. You never know.
I used to discuss this with Danny White, and I told him that if you know how to tune a clutch in a top fuel dragster, you're set for life, man. You got it made. And he agreed for once.
Yeah, the clutches were fun. That's why I did clutches for 12 years, and that it was hard to get away from it. To learn under Richard Hogan, which you mentioned, Don Garlitz a little bit ago. I mean, that's where he came from, and to learn from that guy and Don Garlitz and just the way they did things was something I'll never forget. And Hogan and I had a lot of success together, and we could almost tell each other what to do with our eyes. I didn't even have to say anything to him. He never had to say anything to me. We just knew what to do. And
that's perfect. I guess that's something I meant to ask you, and I'm glad you mentioned that. The clutches is what was your job on the Capco team? Was that it for the entirety of the time, or did you do a couple of things?
I did. Prior to that, I did superchargers and other things on the car, and I learned a lot through a lot of other years of working on the alcohol car. But I really specialized in clutches and took a really big interest into that. And, strive to be one of the best out there, and we had a lot of success. And I still love it, and I still I got my fix a couple times this year. I went and helped Trip Tatum out, which is a good friend of mine, and there's been a lot of phone calls trying me to get to go out, but I stepped away for a reason, and you never know. You might see me out there every now and then, but I don't think full time ever again.
Never say never, but I'm glad.
Never say never, right?
Glad to have you when we had you. Tell us about. Do you have any good road stories? Anything that comes to mind? I mean, we save some of them for the bar. We'll tell you.
Yeah, there's a lot of good road stories. I was always I was more than just a clutch specialist. I was an ultimate fun haver. I like to have a good time and show everybody to have a good time. And I'll take you back to a story that I wish I never did. Was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I ended up meeting this PBR bull rider, and he was a good friend of Steve's, and he was sponsored by Monster. Well, we were at Steve's house. We would always go there in Kilgore, Texas, and Steve looked at me one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in riding a bull?" And, without thinking, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Why not? So we ended up going over to this guy's house. Well, I didn't know it was the PBR rider's house, and this was his practice bull. So so I tried riding this practice PBR bull, and things didn't work. There's a video of it floating around. I'll have to send it to you. Ended up being the bull rode me more than I rode it, and slammed me on the ground and tried to stick its horn on my side and knocked the wind out of me. And yeah, my back's pretty messed up from it still, and I don't think I'll ever do that again. But that was a good story.
Oh man.
And another good story was, every time we won, I told you we celebrated a lot. We used to burn the tires off our scooters. We used to burn the tires off my dad's truck. Bunny and Mo and my dad rode down a pickup truck, and we won Charlotte years ago, and we burnt the tires off of it. Well, we blew the rear end out of it too. So me and Dom had to weld the rear end back, and we had a lot of good fun memories. There's a lot, like we'll sit at a bar and talk about it, but
it's a date. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, we will.
Well, let's get serious here for a moment, because folks are out here helping us out. You got any shout outs to any sponsors or other folks who helped you out along the way, either recently down the road?
Yeah, we named a lot of them to start. The Dotes gave me that, Mike and Connie Dote gave me that chance to get that top fuel license, helped me a lot in being able to drive for, the Laganas, and them too, especially Mike, Dom Lagana and 142 Speed Shop is a big part of my racing career, and they helped me a lot. And Dom and Sarah Lagana, and then Bobby too. I mean, Bobby's like a big brother to all of us, and he's he's helped me in so many ways through life and drag racing, and couldn't do it without him. Obviously, got to name the boys too. Aaron Cave, Scott Vance, Adam Cave, Chop Moreland, T-Bone and Tina Clayton, Julia Burkett, Sherry Burkett, Mo Burkett, all the people that are still around. Jeff, I could keep naming them. There's a lot of guys that still hang around and help us as much as they can, and never forget it. And recently, Rob Bonifant at Bonifant Friction, I mentioned that a lot. He's helped us a lot with our program at on Bunny's Funny Car, and it's carried over to the alcohol dragster as far as supplying us with what we need to make sure we can go out and win. And that's a lot of the big reasons there. And Brandon Bernstein at Lucas Oil supplied our whole operation with everything we need. And I got a couple other Fred Spell at Spell Paving. He's a big part of Funny Car Chaos. I think you've seen Spell Paving on a lot of cars, and he's kept that deal going. And he's helped us with Bunny's cars numerous times, as well as a lot of other things in my career. And Rico at Fatheads Eyewear, he's a big part. He supplied me with my fire suit and sunglasses and a lot of other things. And obviously, I can't leave out Jeff Eastburn, Josh Eastburn, Jessica Eastburn at Hoops Fire Prevention. They've helped me a lot, with my career now and steer me in the right direction. Let's just say. And, and there's a lot of other guys too. And the super comp world and all that, I got a lot of help from Sean Langdon, helps me out a lot. This guy, Michael Hondras, he's a pretty good racer too. And, a lot of these, Lindbergh, I could go on forever, but I mean,
well, thanks to all. That's what we say.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, do you have, what do you like to do away from the racetrack? Is that a thing for you at all?
I mean, when I'm not racing, I'm racing. So, I mean, when I'm not racing the alcohol dragster, I'm racing my super comp dragster. When I'm not racing the super comp dragster, I'm going to the streetcar shootout at Cecil County Dragway with the Nova. When when I'm not racing, I'm racing. So that's pretty much all I do. And then I have a couple Harleys I ride every once in a while. I used to wake surf a lot. What else? I don't know. I kind of hang with my fiance a lot, and we have 6 dogs. So 2 of them are Great Danes, so they keep me pretty busy. So
sounds good. I guess that's the thing we talked about a little bit before the show, but didn't get into it during the show. What are the next couple races you're doing, and like for the rest of the year?
Rest of the year, we've pretty much been booked up every weekend until now between alcohol funny car, alcohol dragster, couple. I helped out Brian Howe some too with his alcohol car, Trip Tatum, all these things. And we have one race left this weekend at Maple Grove. It's the Dutch, we call it, but it's the actual Virginia Divisional was rescheduled there. Okay. And we're actually going there with 7 race cars. Wow. So we're bringing a couple Camaros, a Nova, 3 super comp cars, and a top dragster. So it keeps me pretty busy, and it's a lot of fun. So we're trying to increase our odds of going rounds, bringing a couple more cars. So we'll see how it goes.
7 cars, how many drivers?
7 cars, 4 drivers. Okay. So Jessica will be in top dragster and super comp. Josh will be in super comp stock. Jeff will be in stock, and I'll be in super comp and super street. So
wow. You guys trying to be the top tier over there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, finally, let me ask you one final. Well, first, let's go to John. Any final thoughts from the crew out there, John, or from yourself?
Yes, we have 3 posts. Lisa Naden says Gary has always been humble and kind, and the next post is from your mom. And she says, Gary is as real as they come, always has been. Love you, son.
Love you, Mom. You got to love the mom shout outs, right?
Yeah, you got to have the mom shout out.
Glad she's on here listening. She's a big part of my career too, and she's always been there, whenever I needed her. And she was at that race. She's actually in that winner's circle picture behind you, and that meant the world to me, and it was great. And then she still comes to all the local events, and big part of the reason why I moved back east was to be close to mom. Why would you not want to be close to mom, right?
Absolutely. You bet.
That's totally cool. And Greg Zyla said, this is a great show tonight. He said, clutch specialist is where it's at.
That's it. Clutch guys matter, we say. I mean, it's a big part of the fuel world, nitro and alcohol and a lot of them. So those converter guys can stay away. The clutch guys are there forever.
That's right. You can make power, but you got to get it down the track. That's
right.
All right. Zyla gets the last word with a Z. It makes sense, right? And so finally, Gary, where can folks find you on the internet or elsewhere if they want to follow along with your career or just hang out?
I kind of keep my Instagram, Gary Pritchett _FC, updated, story wise, and periodically, post some stuff. And then as far as that, Facebook, just make sure it's my new account. There's a the old account was I can't remember what the picture was, but the new account has me and my beautiful fiance in it. So if you can see that picture, that's the right account. The other one got hacked. So
Yeah,
but yeah, that's where we keep all of our stuff on, the stories there, and I try and post as much as I can. And we're obviously planning to run the bunny car next year as many times as we can. We got a lot of interest in Cecil County Dragway, so we'll be there. We'll probably be at Budds Creek. We'll be at Summer Duck Easter Saturday. So come out there and see us if you're listening. And then obviously Randy Meyer, we're going to try and do something there. But other than that, you'll see me locally in some national events with the Super Comp car and Top Dragster as well. So
awesome. Well, you're keeping them killer lights going, man, because
we'll try.
It's not
that's
like
what it's all about. That's a big part of it. So, and then
like
watching all these guys, like Bunny and Steve and the Sean Langdon taught me a lot how to, hit the light good and drive good. And that's key. So.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to visit with you, my old friend. John, did you have one more thing, it looks like, or?
We're caught up.
Awesome. Just happy to be here and happy to visit with our guest.
But I've really enjoyed this interview, Gary. It's just fantastic what you're doing, and we wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, guys, a lot, and hopefully we can do it again soon after some more race wins.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's figure out what's going on. Certainly in the early spring or as soon as we can.
Yep.
Miss Kale, chase you down, man.
Sounds good.
All right, Gary Pritchett, my good friend, ladies and gentlemen. Little Bear is not little anymore. He's the big bear now, and he's as awesome as he always has been. Thank you, sir. Have a great rest of the year, a super holiday season, and we'll catch you some more down the road.
Thanks, and it was so great to chat with you and answer all the questions, and look forward to doing it again in the future. And go Ravens! They're playing.
Go Ravens! There, yeah. Beat Philly. Woo, that's almost a beltway. It's not that far.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Well, Jess is a huge Philly fan, and I'm a huge Ravens fan, so it's gonna be interesting.
I gotcha. Yeah, my wife is from Denver. I'm a Cleveland guy, so it was a rocky '80s. Although neither one of us seemed to have a problem winning championship, or neither one of us had that problem anymore. Anyway, all right, folks. Gary Pritchett, congrats on a fantastic year and a great career, and just being an awesome dude. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, John.
All right, fantastic. Let us say farewell to Gary, and let me say hello to my friend John. John, for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. Take it away, John.
Thanks, BP. My pick for Racer of the Week is Rob Elsom from Mansfield, Nottinghamshire, United Kingdom. Rob was recommended to me by our friend Mark Luton. Thanks, Mark. Rob's career in drag racing includes his years competing with his Dirty Deeds Nostalgia Funny Cars, and he has recently moved up to the One Bad Texan Toyota Nitro Beast. Rob started racing in Pro ET back in 2000 when he ran a 9-second Camaro. After a few years, he quit to build a street 1957 step-side truck that was the last break he had from racing. He returned for a few years around 2010 in Supermod with what people affectionately call the Olds Cutlass running into the 7-second bracket. It was at this point during the winter of 2012 that Dave Bryant, the longest Big Show campaigner on their side of the pond, gave Rob a taste of working around a AA funny car. And Rob spent a year in 2019 doing the full European tour with RFM and Rune, and has given advice and sold parts to him ever since. Unfortunately, this happened at a low point in life when Rob's marriage ended. Racing has always been a central feature in his life, but at this point, it was practically everything he had. He bought the chassis for the Nostalgia Funny Car from Dave, and he hasn't looked back. Rob enjoyed running both of the Dirty Deeds bodied cars and drove them both, but found his happy place outside of the cockpit. John Hale ran the best ETs with the Nostalgia Funny Car, and in 2023, Rob decided to take the plunge into the Big Show Funny Car class in the UK. He spoke with John early on and asked if he bought one and built an operation if he'd drive it for him. And John has been behind the wheel ever since. As an independent pro racer, at this point, Rob just wants to add that this is solely funded by himself, and he is looking for marketing partners and sponsors to help him to continue. These things burn money like we eat bacon, and it's apparent that he can't do this without the help of sponsors. And John Hale has been a massive help in driving the car and making that part much more enjoyable. When you have a driver like John behind the wheel, it takes a lot of the worry away. Rob just wants to thank everyone that's helped him so far, especially Dave Bryant and the crew. Rob added, "It's really cool that you mates are willing to give some time towards my efforts on your show, and thank you." Well, Rob, your funny car is truly marvelous, and y'all are one of the most popular and respected teams throughout all of British and European drag racing. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. I wanted to go to the Texas Fall Nationals on the 12th, but when I went online to buy tickets, it said no seats available. I questioned the accuracy of that post, but I definitely didn't want to drive all the way to Dallas and back only to find out that it was sold out and I couldn't stand all day. My hips wouldn't hold up to it. It was the proper outworking of all things, as my sister used to say. Next time I won't wait till the last few days to try to get tickets. And the City Kings album project is on hold for now. Both Bill and Scott are having health issues, and we had to put the recordings aside until they're good to go again. It also was the proper outworking of all things. I voted today. Kyle took me to City Hall, and we got through the whole ordeal in about an hour. I'm glad we went today. Election day is going to be a several-hour stand-in-line situation here. And thanks, Kyle, for bringing me. Nick has been driving to Dallas and back every week to record his drum tracks for the upcoming Kyronex album. He reminds me of when I was his age and there were no limits on my endurance. All for the music. Nothing else mattered. I did it for decades, and I can see that he's doing it now. I can't wait to hear their album. They're a damn good band. It's not my style, but I'm familiar with their kind of music, and I enjoy it, especially since it's my son playing it. Nick told me that when Kyronex played in New Orleans last month, they got paid $50. That's $50 for the whole band. I also remember those days. For Nick and their band, it ain't about the money at this time. It's for the exposure. I heard that a lot for years. I just kept going. That's what Nick is doing now. He's paying his dues. I'm happily retired from all that. I made good money playing in Pee Wee's band for 18 years, and that was enough. But it's like a 4-hour gig took 14 hours to do from start to finish, and I just got tired of it. So now I get to make an album with the City Kings and do graphics for Draglist. This is what I always wanted to do without all the hassle of doing live gigs and nightclubs playing oldies. But those gigs paid well, and it was an adventure that I never would have otherwise had. I thank Pee Wee Bowen every day of my life. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. We look forward to having y'all with us every week. It's a great way for us to spend an hour together on a Monday night. I'll see y'all next time. Have a safe and happy Halloween. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Great stuff as always. And man, the music life, it costs a lot less and it takes a lot less effort to go hear them live than it does to put those shows on. The loadout alone, the load in and load out alone, man. Pretty crazy. Well, thanks for doing it, brother.
Yeah, I could still be doing it. The phone keeps ringing, emails keep coming in, but I finally decided, I've done this enough. I have nothing more to prove to anybody about anything. And I'm doing what I like, which is Draglist and City Kings. So from there, it's all good.
It works good for us because we get to take advantage. 2 great posters a week, plus so many things behind the scenes that folks don't see, plus all your great work on the show every single week. Thank you. That's a lot of work. You're talking about writing the race of the week. You're talking about doing the posters. You're talking about promoting the show. And hey, I could vouch that, and nobody's making big money doing this, especially John. This is a largely volunteer effort, so thank you, brother.
Thank you. Not a problem at all. I appreciate being here.
Well, let's go into our special announcements this week. One thing, we mentioned it earlier, we want to say it again. I want to wish my dear friend Jack Red a happy birthday. 90 years old. We got to visit on the USA One Drag Fest up in Dauphin, Pennsylvania on October 19th. We were hanging out with Dale and Lisa, who took us up there. Denise had the van. She had a convention out in Ocean City, Maryland, she had to go to. So Dale came and got me at my house, got Jack at his house, which was like 15 miles out of his way, one way. Took us back. We loaded up the trailer, took the beautiful candy apple red Fiat A-Comp Coupe and displayed it at Larson's house. While we were there, of course, we got to meet the 1989 Funny Car World Champion, our dear friend. Also got to meet the #1 drag racer of all time. Big Daddy Don Garlitz was there, who had a gigantic line to get his autograph all day long. So we had, Jack Red and Big Daddy, who go way back to, there's a Jack approved decal on Big Daddy's winning Top Fuel car from the late 60s at Indy. And then of course guys like Henry Sweetman was there, our great friend, and got to introduce him to Big Daddy, and so many other great names. But thanks so much to Dale and Lisa for taking him up there. We announced that Jack turned 90, so a lot of folks came by and said happy birthday. I hope you guys enjoyed the 200 plus photos that we put up on Draglist to celebrate Mr. Red and the Jack approved. And just I didn't realize we had we've gone everywhere together for the last 5 to 10 years, actually longer than that, and lots of great photos. If you haven't had a chance to check those out, check him out. It's just Jack, and we're just about the who's who of drag racing on the East Coast in these photos. And once again, happy birthday, my friend, and thanks for all the thrills. You've been a lot of fun to hang out with, old buddy, is what he calls me and what I call him back. But if you get a chance, folks, drop Jack a line and say happy birthday. By the way, we do have a Facebook group for Jack. It's the Jack Approved Decal group. You can get your own Jack Approved decals. You can stop by and say hello, and I wish you would. Awesome weekend with Jack. John?
Oh, I'm just adjusting my
okay
mic cord here.
I thought you either raise your hand or throwing a football, one or the other. I thought it was the other Danny White for a moment from the Cowboys. Anyway, thank you, sir. So again, thanks to Dale and Lisa for taking care of us. And we had a great, by the way, we came back. We had to leave a little early. We had a great dinner with all of our friends on Friday night. We went up Friday night, stayed over, and made it a full day on Saturday. But then we left a little early to get back here before it was super dark. And then we went to our own celebration and had a nice birthday dinner at the famous Mama Stella's Italian race or Italian restaurant right there in Clinton, Maryland, which is Jack approved. It's still on the front door, and where I've been eating since 1983, and my full family loves Mama Stella's. So anyway, we closed the joint down, and Jack did a birthday. Had a nice tartufo ice cream cake with a candle, and we were good to go. So once again, happy birthday, Jack. 90 years old, everybody. The next big event coming up is Nitro Revival in Irwindale, California, November 8th and 9th. I hope you can join us out there. We're going to have a big announcement here just in a moment in the special future guest section. But one other thing I also wanted to do It happened this last week, and I want to say congratulations to Randy Lynn Butner, a Mountain Motor Pro Stock rookie, and a seasoned sportsman drag racer. Randy Lynn Butner made history Friday evening at the Brian Olson Memorial PRA World Finals at Virginia Motorsports Park down in Dinwiddie, Virginia. She recorded the class's first ever official 3-second quarter mile pass, or eighth mile pass rather, in pro stock. No nitrous, no blower, no turbocharger. This is pro stock. The Mountain Motor Pro Stock guys have been knocking on this door for the last several seasons, and they've been mired in the 4.0s no matter where they went. But that fabulous Dinwiddie air made it happen. And of course, the horsepower and the driving capability. Randy Lynn went 399.7 at 176.37 miles an hour in the second session of Extreme Pro Stock qualifying. So thank you, Randy Lynn Butner, and congratulations, I should say. You know, these things like Ricky Smith hitting the 7s and all these great numbers, when who hit the first number forever, Randy Lynn Butner is going to go down in history as the first Mountain Motor Pro Stock racer in the 3. So congratulations, young lady. Yes, John, go for it, sir.
Randy Lynn was a racer of the week a few years ago.
Oh, man.
When she won in a stock class, and she's good people, and I'm really happy for her. That's great. I knew that she would achieve great things in our sport.
You called it, John. Great job. And it's fantastic. Once again, congrats. So upcoming guests, let's talk about next Monday night. Miss K's been hard at work, but I will be in Hershey, Pennsylvania next weekend. There is an IT event going up there where a lot of the folks who buy IT services and sell IT services and manage that for the federal government are going to be up at Hershey Park. We don't get to go on the rides, but we do get to go to a couple days of meetings and planning and stuff like that. So I will not be back for our on October 28th show. And so we are taking the week off. But when we come back, Miss K has got us a special guest. Cindy Gibbs is going to be joining us to talk about Nitro Revival. So Steve and Cindy Gibbs putting on that amazing event every single year. We are going to have Cindy on the show to talk about that event that's coming up the following weekend, and where I hope to be if I can get my plane tickets purchased fast enough. But I'm working with Jackie Fricky of Top Alcohol Dragster fame, who also has Accelerated Travel as a company. She's going to take care of business. I want to thank Don Ewald for the press credentials for the event, my friend and fellow way back to the 90s internet guy with We Did It for Love. He's got me covered. So it's just a matter of getting that plane, getting that rental car. We'll get that all taken care of. But November 4th, Cindy Gibbs is going to come on to talk about the amazing 2024 Nitro Revival event. So looking forward to that. Also, by the way, I was chatting up at the Bruce Larson USA One Drag Fest with the great Mike Dunn, the former Funny Car Racer, IHRA president for a time, and just all around amazing guy. Mike has said, yep, I will come on the show. So it's just a matter of us getting connected and figuring out the date. So in the future, Mike Dunn, plus a lot of other great names that we'd love to have on. We've been talking to some folks. It's a matter of getting the dotted line filled in with their signature, and we'll make that happen. So, and here's how it works. I hope it doesn't take that long, but we've been talking with Gary Pritchett for like over a year about coming on. But as you can tell, there was a lot of stuff going on in his life, and glad to finally get my friend on. So, and then we'll, once as we do this next couple of weeks, we'll come up with some great guests for the future, and we'll fill in November and let you know what we got going on. Let's go to those we lost. A huge name here, a couple big names. But on October 14th, Pro Stock legend General Lee Edwards passed away. You guys remember the big candy apple red, well, kind of a candy cinema color and yellow Pro Stock cars for years. Chevy Vegas, Chevy Camaros. Lee actually started way back in 1965 in an A-fuel dragster, believe it or not. But he raced through 1981, the 1977 and 1978 IHRA Pro Stock World Champion. He was always tough and always loved. General Lee Edwards. By the way, inside tip, General is literally his first name, General Lee Edwards. And just a great guy that it was always fun to watch race, and one of the top pro stock guys of all time. Farewell to you, sir. Also on the 14th, Bob Schmidt, really tough super street racer, well-regarded, friendly fellow. We want to thank Nitro Joe Jackson for letting us know about that. And then we are honored to share this obituary. Our friend Jerry Cookson from the UK let us know about his father, Gerald, who just passed away on October 17th. And Gerald, also a member of the British Drag Racing Hall of Fame since 2018. He was inducted. And British drag racing pioneer Gerald Cookson died in the early hours of Monday, the 14th of October, 24. Oh, pardon me. So the October 14th as well. He passed away peacefully in his sleep and without pain, for which we are thankful. He was 94 years of age. After visiting the international drag festivals at Blackbush in 1964, Gerald started his drag racing career at the third meeting of the newly opened Santa Pod Raceway, driving a self-built and designed BMC-powered slingshot dragster called Minor Leaguer. While working as a factory planner and engineer for Birmingham-based Lucas Electrical, he designed his next dragster with a more traditional American slingshot look about it. He called it the Troubleshooter. He still used the dependable BMC engine from a 998cc Mini Cooper. Gerald never wanted anything bigger in cubic capacity or more expensive to race. He wanted good old dependable British ingenuity that he could pull off the shelf, modify, and develop from race to race. From this point on, race wins started to come in the lower ranks of the dragster classes, but an untimely incident in the Santa Pod fire-up lane ended the troubleshooter's days when the push bar broke. A year later, his most successful dragster appeared, called the Joker. Again, it was a BMC powered, but now had a blower attached, and carried him to numerous wins at Santa Pod, as well as at the National Drag Racing Club meets at Blackbush and Long Marston, his home quarter mile. After the success of the dragster, Gerald turned his attention to the modified class, where after acquiring a 1958 Berkeley sports car, he began constructing his own chassis to take to Berkeley's framework and a blown Lotus twin cam engine. Wow. By the 1990s, he had purchased a part-built circuit racing MG Midget, first powered by his trusty blown BMC motor, then by an IMP overhead cam, and finally by a factory experimental K-series engine, all blown and nitrous injected. A few years later, the Midget was put into storage, and the Berkeley came into its own with a new setup consisting of a turbocharged 850cc BMC armed with enough nitrous to launch the car before the turbo kicked in midway down the track. Wow, lots of engineering there. The theory was great, but whether it would have worked or not, he'll never know. Above all, among Gerald's racing endeavors, he was a devoted husband for 68 years to his wife, Joan, and a father to his son, Jeremy, as we know as Jerry. Joan never missed a meeting, providing all the food, fetching and carrying, serving as the backup lady. You name it, she did it. Gerald's biggest accolade was to have the family name etched into sports annals as he inducted members of the British Drag Racing Hall of Fame in 2018. He was also presented with 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, one by the Wild Bunch and the other received from Jeremy himself at the 2017 APIRA Championship Awards. He was also presented with the Don Garlett Spirit of Drag Racing Shield in 2000. Another of British drag racing's early pioneers has departed. The directors of the Hall of Fame in Britain offer the Cookson family their condolences. We offer our friend Jerry our condolences and our thanks for the thrills over the years. What a great gentleman. So farewell, folks, to 3 great names. General Lee Edwards, Pro Stock champ, Bob Schmidt, Super Street Racer, and Gerald Cookson, all passing on October 14th. Farewell, gentlemen. And with that, we're coming to the end of our show. John, any final thoughts from you before we say farewell?
Well, I really, we all on the chat board and myself included really enjoyed Gary Pritchett's interview tonight. He's an amazing guy. He's involved with so many projects and they're all successful. It's just really an example for us to look up to. And I appreciated him coming on the show. And I look forward to the November 4th show with Cindy Gibbs. She's a great guest, and she's also an extremely talented artist.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to having Cindy back with us on November the 4th. And I want everybody to have a safe and happy Halloween. And my wife decorated the whole front of the house. It looks like a spook show out there. So we're going to have fun.
All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. So let's do a wrap. We want to thank Gary Pritchett, who was amazing. Thanks, my friend John Bockelman, Kay Turkelson, who's just doing an amazing job lining up the guests, Rob McCabe and Mel Bashore, who are updating the lists every single week. Thank you so much. And thanks forever to the man, Danny White. We want to thank Jeff Gilder of Zeus Digital Marketing, Racers Reunion, and Wingding Media. Click the like and the share to share the show with your friends. Subscribe, please, to the Draglist channel out there. And even if you're watching this on a recording, we would appreciate it, helping us spread the word. Check out draglist.com every single day to see what's new. And finally, with that, I'll say farewell, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for my friend Cindy Gibbs as we discuss this year's upcoming Nitro Revival. Have an awesome week, everybody. We'll see you down the road.